So we're off to Canary Wharf to a property seminar organised by a company called Hunter Jones Investments, and they've got me there as the keynote speaker today. So I'm going to be speaking about the current property market in the UK. I take my speaking commitments very, very seriously. People are paying good money for me to come and speak at these events, and they need real value. Everything I do, I want to provide people with that extra value. I want to provide them with my 100%.
Zee's come along to close for us, so that's well worth waiting for the next 15 minutes. He won't let you down.
Hello? Everyone hear me? So I know you've all had a very long day, just the last hour with me, and you'll all be gone. I'm joking, I'll be 10 minutes. So now that leads me very nicely onto the core topic that I want to talk about today. And that is how to become a property multi-millionaire in 2019. And the key word here is multi, because being a millionaire in today's day and age, sorry to say, does not mean much at all. Over 50% of the UK's millionaires are what I call coincidental millionaires. They've benefited from the house price boom of the 90s and early 2000s. And by default, by way of owning their own home and a couple of buy-to-let properties, they're worth over £1 million. Is that what you call wealthy? I don't think so. If you've got a primary residence, which is, let's say, worth £500,000, and you've got a couple of properties on the side as well, and you're making a 5% rental yield from them, that's going to give you around about £2,000 every single month in rental income. You are a millionaire. Are you wealthy? No, you're not. So I'm going to burst a very big bubble today for everyone, and excuse me for being blunt and pissing on the parade that you've likely been preached at property seminars for years and years, but in 2019, buy-to-let property is dead.
It is dead.
It's dead, and it's dying more with the taxes. It is the most inefficient route to become wealthy in property today.
We made money out of that.
Was it? Would you like to come on stage? You can join me, I don't mind. We can talk together. Was it good 20 years ago? It certainly was. Credit availability was becoming more widespread, increasing people's affordability. The economy was growing, wages were increasing, and all these factors put upward pressure on property prices. People were making money in property by default. In 1996, the average property price was £75,000. By 2006, that was £220,000. That means for every pound that you put into property, you made £3 back in return. You didn't have to be a genius, you just need to buy a house. But today, with people's affordability stretched out to their entire working life, with them paying mortgages for 35 years, economic growth almost stagnant, and real wages along with that too, can you realistically see the average UK home going from just over £234,000 today to £700,000 by 2029? I can't. I just don't see it happening. I don't see where that growth is going to come from anymore. So that model that we used to have is bust. So, okay, you have rental return. You're all probably thinking that it's not just about capital growth, you also have your rental returns. Fair enough. Let's talk about rental. So good old residual income. Let's take a 6% average rental yield. In today's day and age, with the new tax regulations that come in, it would take you more than a decade just to make your initial equity contribution back. So a typical mortgage where you're taking 25%, you're taking 75% loan, and you're making a 25% contribution, is going to take you 10 years in your positive cash flow just to nearly maybe get your equity back that you put in. So that dream, that model that we used to have of simply acquiring buy-to-let property and becoming wealthy by default is bust. We've got to think different. We've got to look in different directions to see how we can benefit from property. What it means is that you've got to work harder. You've got to think different. What worked 20 years ago won't work today. You need to look at, for example, emerging markets, where there is growth opportunity, like the developed world has already had. People make money in every market, in the good times, in the average times, and the bad times. You just need to make sure that you're on the right side. Choose your deals carefully, do your due diligence, diversify your investments. Thank you very much. It was a great event, very well put together event, great value add for investors. I think they get a good afternoon of various presentations from different developers in a very sort of unintimidating environment, just getting to learn about what's happening in the property market. And the message was throughout was very similar to the message that I was giving, that traditional buy-to-let property as we used to know it is dead. Today, 2019, you can't just buy a property and expect that in 10 years you're going to become rich by default. Those times are gone. The 90s, the early 2000s, you know, where property prices were booming and doubling year after year, those times are gone now. You know, the economy is stagnant, wages aren't growing, people are paying for property over 35 years of their life now. You know, the affordability has been stretched out as much as it can. Where do property prices grow from here? I don't know. You know, if we look at 1996, average property price was about 75 grand. By 2006, they were about 220 grand, right? So you're talking about a 3x return there. Property prices tripled in 10 years. Today, the average property price is just over 234 grand. Will that be almost 700,000 pounds? In the next 10 years by 2029? I don't see it. So what you have to do today is you've got to be more creative. You've got to add value. You've got to be looking to add value. You've got to be looking for deals where either you're buying it cheap or you've got an opportunity to add value to that. You've got to be more creative in your real estate investing. That old strategy of just, I bought 10 properties and they made me a lot of money and now I'm rich, that's dead. It's gone.